Our 8 News Now investigators bringing you that bombshell investigation first, finding state troopers didn't suspect he was even impaired. Good evening, I'm Denise Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. Tonight, after years of digging, another twist, this time involving a potential flaw in the system that could affect your safety on the road right now. 8 News Now investigator David Charnes with what he found.
Brian, Denise, the company that employed that truck driver wasn't required to drug test him because the truck he was driving isn't considered a commercial motor vehicle. Now, remember, that vehicle's only purpose is literally transporting items or goods for commerce. We also found a previous version of that company failed a safety audit a year before this crash. Documents say that and other issues led its owners to fear they wouldn't get insurance, so they decided on a fresh start.
So you haven't had anything to drink at all this morning? Are you on any meds or anything?
No alcohol, no meds, but something. Enough methamphetamine in his system to kill most human beings.
I guess I fell asleep because I don't remember it. I just remember hitting those people.
It's December 10th, 2020, and Jordan Barson, driving this mangled multi-ton box truck, just crashed into a group of cyclists. Among the metal and bike parts all over the road, 5 white sheets cover the dead.
Okay, so you're basically like a courier?
Yes.
Barson was on the 95 heading back to Arizona as one trooper tests him for sobriety.
So I'm just worried about blood. I'm not worried about glass.
Another works to find information about the truck and his employer.
And I'll see about getting a DOT number.
One of the first things she's searching for, the company's DOT number, the unique ID from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which regulates companies doing business on our roads. Barson is on this route for one of those companies, Roadrunner Transport, a trucking service whose owner, Charla Wilson, would soon arrive herself.
So you're saying that all these people are deceased?
Not unfortunately, the ones that are under the all of them under the sheets. I guess. You okay?
No, I'm not.
Let's go stand over here.
I'm not okay.
Yeah, let's go stand over here.
Federal law requires drivers with commercial driver's licenses driving certain trucks be drug tested regularly. Barson had a commercial driver's license, but even though he was piloting a vehicle that could and would take 5 lives in an instant, the truck didn't weigh enough to require him to have that license or have that regular testing.
I do a drug test before I hire people, you know. Yeah. I try to do my due diligence.
Barson was tested before he was hired, but records show 4 other drivers started working for the same company before their bosses received negative test results.
Oh, here you go.
Here, troopers find a DOT number, another trooper writes it down. Those 7 digits that, alongside blood and debris, would become an important part of this case file. Documents the 8 News Now investigators obtained show Roadrunner Transport was, quote, a successor company, replacing one with a similar name, Roadrunner Hotshot, adding the same owner owned both operations. Federal investigators found the new company, quote, utilized the same drivers and equipment, with these documents showing Wilson registered both in Arizona. A post-crash investigation finding that original company, Roadrunner Hotshot, received various violations and failed an initial safety audit. An investigator writing they were coming up for insurance renewal and were unaware if they would be approved. Then, the carrier received a DOT number under that new name, Roadrunner Transport, to, quote, start off fresh.
One of the same owners with the same type of entity, the same locations, doing the same thing, now getting a whole different number.
We asked Las Vegas attorney Craig Drummond, who works transportation-related cases, to review this one.
That should have raised flags and it should have raised questions. To the extent that they're changing a number but continuing the same operation means that members of the public or perhaps other government agencies taking a look at this corporation or this entity wouldn't have access to the prior information because they wouldn't have known that they had switched numbers.
A switch that allowed a company in Wilson's name to close and then start over. According to federal officials, a DOT number is assigned to only one person and remains assigned to that person forever. Adding a business owner will keep that number even if it changes its current form of business, and the new entity will continue to operate virtually the same. The only change here, a second person added to that new business.
If you get
2 DUIs, a speeding ticket, whatever. You can't just call the DMV and say, I want a new number, I want to re-register.
You would have to take a lot of actions and get a lot of approvals, and you have to show that you're not doing it for a nefarious reason or an improper reason.
In 2022, now 2 years after the crash, the 8 News Now investigators asked the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration about one business owner closing one company and then receiving a new DOT number. The department declined several interview requests, but a spokesperson later answered written questions. How often does this happen? Answer: FMCSA is aware, however, that some entities intentionally seek to obtain more than one DOT number for a single operation, often in an attempt to circumvent compliance with safety regulations. With no clear response, we went to the top.
DOT does a level of vetting to try to catch problem actors reincarnating under new numbers, but sometimes that can be difficult to catch.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg confirmed to his position 2 months after this crash, said his agency is working on new systems to find similar double registrations.
Why do you think I had to come to you to get this question answered?
What I can tell you is that we're constantly working to try to make sure that our systems and our practices are up to speed and up to date.
You and I can't just start off fresh.
Correct. It is not that easy.
We need to make sure who his carrier is, because Roadrunner Hotshot LLC is an inactive DOT number.
Is it?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Another uh-oh. Body camera video shows troopers were confused about the companies and the active number. While Jordan Barson is legally at fault, documents indicate the government would eventually revoke Roadrunner's right to drive on our roads.
I think this case does highlight a potential need to fix a loophole.
Only Jordan Barson and Jordan Barson alone has faced criminal charges for this crash. And after the crash, the government cited that trucking company for more than 100 violations. Tonight, that company is no longer in business. And to be clear, there are no charges pending for them or its leadership. We have attempted several times to get a statement from their attorneys, and as of today, no response. The families of those 5 bikers killed are suing Barson and the company, and a trial in that is scheduled for next year. Meantime, Jordan Barson is 4 years into his minimum 16-year prison term for driving impaired on meth and killing 5 of our neighbors.
David, a whole lot to unpack here in this multi-year work you've done with the 2 DOT numbers as well as the drug testing. But you're saying even though this truck driver was essentially going back and forth between here and Arizona every single day in that big truck, he did not require a test?
Right. It's a weird federal flaw, right. That's what I'll call it, that we found. And he only required that test that one time for pre-employment screening. Never again, and these tests are random. So we also learned that the trucking company didn't register with what the government calls its drug and alcohol clearinghouse. Basically, that's a database with the driver's previous drug infractions. And it's important to mention, though that investigator found that that company, you saw the document there, that they wanted to start off fresh and they got that new number. We don't really know the intention behind that other than they said to get that insurance, since no one ever responded to our emails. But certainly, as you heard the secretary say there, we finally got to him to answer our questions after 3 years. It seems like they are updating our systems so this never happens again. But of course, we need to find out exactly what that means next.
David, thanks for your work on this.